Coming up on the Paper Talk, we'll be looking at Rasmus Hojlund. Can Manchester United and Atalanta meet some middle ground to get the 20-year-old striker to Old Trafford? We'll also be talking about Sofyan Amrabat. Also, Harry Kane, is he coming to Manchester United? Let's get into it and find out. Jay here for Stretford Paddock. This is the Paper Talk. As you can see, I'm not at Old Trafford. I'm not live in the studio. We're actually in America. We're in the United States, following the Reds on their tour across the country. We've already been to New York and we've been to New Jersey. We're now in San Diego as well. We've just heard Erik ten Hag's press conference where he was addressing many of the questions I'm sure you've got for him about things like the striker situation, new signings, what is happening there. So we'll get into all that. We'll also go through some of the newspaper articles centering around not just the press conference as well, but other stories we've got involving Manchester United Football Club and whether we are actually going to see new additions anytime soon. It's not been the worst transfer window so far for Manchester United. We've brought in Mason Mount, we've brought in Andre Onana, but there is more work to be done, and the obvious one is a striker. We know Manchester United desperately need a new striker, so we're going to get into all that. But first of all, make sure you are subscribing to the channel. We want to get to 800,000 subscribers, and with your support, we can do it. Right, let's talk about Rasmus Hojlund. Let's not beat around the bush and go, oh, do you know what? What about this and what about that and all the rest of it. Rasmus Hojlund is the deal, or the name that's been on most of the journalists' lips, and people have been asking Erik ten Hag about it. He's been sort of, like he does, he won't speak about players that aren't at Manchester United, but we've had a few reports in various papers saying that it looks like Manchester United are settled on around 60 million. That is less, obviously, than what Atalanta indicated they wanted. They wanted around 86 million, but it looks like United are digging their heels in, and there could be some compromise there. There could be a deal on the horizon if Atalanta can just lower their expectations a little bit. Maybe a sort of deal that we've seen when it comes to the likes of Andre Onana and Mason Mount, where the club have said, okay, we'll give you so much up front and the rest in add-ons. Those two deals got done because the club were willing to do that, and that suited the selling club as well. That could be a way forward with this deal. I'm looking here in some of the articles and the press reports we've had. It says here, I think it was in the Star, the back of the Star was Manchester United are refusing to meet Atalanta's asking price for top target Rasmus Hojlund, £80 million asking price. It says not the 80 million man. They're not the only paper reporting this as well. The Metro said Manchester United are unwilling to spend more that is, than 60 million on Rasmus Hojlund, and will move on to other targets if Atalanta refuse to drop their asking price. Now, again, this is a bit of a tactic in it with Manchester United, because when we were in for Mason Mount and it looked like we weren't going to get him, or it was, there was a bit of stagnation with the deal, all of a sudden we were being linked with Moises Caicedo. It's like, oh, actually, if we don't get Mount, I know they're completely different players, we could go for Caicedo, which is a player that Chelsea wanted. The same with Andre Onana. We were linked with other goalkeepers when it looked like there could be something stagnating on the Andre Onana front. So this is what Manchester United have done this summer. Now, it may be accurate. It may be the case that United are going, okay, if we can't get that player, we'll look at another alternative. Or it may just be a little bit of the old dark arts when United are putting it out there that we're looking at other strikers. So Atalanta go, well, actually, if we do want to sell him, and we do want to get a good fee for him, we do need to sell him for the price that Manchester United are willing to pay, or we could end up missing out. It's a bit of a funny one with Hojlund, isn't it? Because he's obviously a very talented young striker, but he hasn't done ridiculous numbers. I think it was 9 goals last season in Serie A. So he's putting up good numbers, but they're not out of this world. So for them to ask for 80 million is too much. United to be willing to pay 60 million is actually a decent amount of money for a striker that is still somewhat unproven. I think he's shown what he's about, and you get the feeling that he's at the beginning of a very, very good career, but it's not set in stone. This isn't a striker where you can go, he's guaranteed to come to Manchester United and bang in 30 goals per season. There is a little bit of a risk there, and I think that is reflective in the fact that Manchester United are not willing to go to the full 80 million that Atalanta are asking. This is being reported everywhere else. I see it, Chris Wheeler in the Daily Mail said Manchester United will not pay more than 60 million for Rasmus Hojlund, despite Atalanta's £86 million asking price. We've heard that a few places as well, that Atalanta actually wanted 86 million. Also, Jamie Jackson, who's just been speaking as well to Joe Smith. That's going to be up later on today, an interview with Joe Smith. He said, or an interview with Jamie Jackson. Well, Jamie Jackson could have interviewed Joe Smith if he wanted. United unwilling to pay Atalanta over the 60 million they're asking for, or the 60 million for Rasmus Hojlund that United are willing to pay there. So there's there's a bit of a sort of an impasse, shall we say. United digging their heels in, Atalanta wanting more. It did feel like this was moving forward a few days ago. It did feel like we were almost there. I wouldn't say we've taken a step back. It just feels like there isn't that sort of steady progression there has been. Now it's up to Atalanta to see whether they are going to say, well, look, it's either 70 million or it's 80 odd million or whatever, or bust. I don't see that happening, to be honest with you. I think that it's obvious Manchester United do want a striker, but paying 86 million quid for a player that is still somewhat unproven would be a bit of an ask. Ten Hag was asked about a striker. He said, we will do everything in our power to get it done. We need as soon as possible. Ideally, he'd be here. We need to integrate, but you don't always get ideal situations as manager. We have to deal with that. He also went on to say, I'm sure there's a little bit more. Progress, yes. You know how it works. When we have him, we will tell you directly. Now, he wasn't directly mentioning, he didn't mention Rasmus Hojlund there. He's mentioning a striker. It's obvious that Manchester United need a striker. So he's talking about progress. He's talking about wanting to get it done. There's a little bit of impasse on the price there, but you do get the feeling that Rasmus Hojlund it's still the one I fancy, still the one that you think is most likely to happen. There was talk, of course, of Harry Kane. We mentioned it on the Paddock podcast that Harry Kane could be available for Manchester United, with Daniel Levy being told you got to sell him. You can't just dig your heels in and say you ain't selling him or you're letting him go for free in the summer. Next summer, we want some money for him. So if that is the case, then that could open the door for Manchester United to buy him. That is a topic that was question that was put to Jamie Jackson, and he went into some more details on that. But again, it's a potential one. It doesn't feel as likely as Rasmus Hojlund, though. In my opinion, we should be buying both strikers. I think Manchester United need two strikers, and I think a club the size of Manchester United, especially with the amount of players we've got that we could move on for relatively decent fees, I think we could make that happen. Do I think it will happen? Probably not. But that's what we should be doing. We shouldn't just be bringing in one striker this summer. I think we should be bringing in two. Just on other targets as well. Now, it looks like Sofyan Amrabat is someone that we've been linked with, and there's a little bit of movement there. Now, there has been some reports that it's actually almost done. Now, I have to say that I can't confirm this. When I've looked online and I've seen the reports that Amrabat United is more or less done, it's coming from journalists who I've never heard of before. I'll be honest with you. So there's Isem Anas, and he's on Twitter. He's listed as a journalist, member of the executive committee of the Sports Union of Moroccan Journalists and presidents of the Sports Union. He's got 66.7k followers. He's got a blue tick. The problem is the blue tick doesn't mean anything anymore. So you can't go, well, look, he's a verified journalist. He must know his stuff. He was doing something. He was tweeting about how it's breaking news. It's a done deal. He's Sofyan Amrabat rejoined Manchester United with a Photoshop picture of Amrabat in his United kit. However, we can't hang our hat on that one. We have to look at it and go, look, we know there's a bit of movement there. We know Manchester United have been linked with Amrabat. We know we want him. Yes, there's some reports saying that it's done deal. I can't get that stood up, and I don't think it is a done deal. I just feel that there's some fire to that smoke in the with the idea that Manchester United want Sofyan Amrabat, and a deal can be done there. We know what he's about. We saw what he did for Morocco in the World Cup. You don't just buy players based on the World Cup, though. He's obviously a very talented midfielder, someone who could come in and give us a different option, give us a bit of rotation. We need that. Mount's come in and give us a bit of rotation. Yes, you can look at it and go, Kobbie Mainoo has shown already pre-season. Maybe he's someone the manager can bring in, but I don't feel you can rely on him too much. Something like Sofyan Amrabat comes in, maybe if Casemiro needs a bit of a breather, hopefully not because of suspensions, then someone like Sofyan Amrabat comes in from Fiorentina and does the business for us. Let us know in the comments and the chat. Do you think Sofyan Amrabat is the answer? Do you think we're going to get Harry Kane? Do you think we're going to get Rasmus Hojlund? Do you have any worries? Because people just go, oh, you know what? This deal should have been done by now. I can't believe we're still waiting for it. It's, you know, what's going on? And then we all start thinking it isn't going to happen. And then it does happen. Mason Mount looked at one point like it weren't going to. It did. Andre Onana was another one where you're thinking, hang on a minute, is this going to happen or not? And then it did. But we need that striker, man. It's a little bit worrying. But I also have to remind myself that we're still in July. And Manchester United usually are quite slow at transfers anyway. Remember, we started last season without the likes of Casemiro, Antony, and we got those deals done. Ideally, though, as Erik ten Hag mentioned, he wants to get in players sooner rather than later. So we know what Manchester United are looking to pay for Rasmus Hojlund. We know what Atalanta want. It's just a case of, can the clubs reach a middle ground? I think they can. You may disagree. Get involved in the chat and the comments and let me know. If you're not done already, make sure you are subscribing to Stretford Paddock. We've had so much support. It's been great being over here as well, seeing the fans face to face from over in the United States. Loads of love, and we appreciate all your support and the things that you do for us as well. We wouldn't be able to have this channel. We haven't had so much love over the last 3 years. It has been just sort of mind-blowing. But make sure you are hitting like, share and subscribe. We're back with more videos coming up. We've got the interview with Jamie Jackson that I mentioned between him and Joe Smith. We've also got the watch along for the Wrexham game. Me and Joe are going to be heading after that to the game against Real Madrid in Houston. It's got loads of great content coming up, so make sure you don't miss out on it. I'm in Jay Motty. Outside, where am I? I don't know. Somewhere in San Diego. I forget. A nice stadium, innit? Apparently this is a school. You know, this sort of facilities at my school, and I went to grammar school. Anyway, don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Thanks for watching.